Hi, my name is Chad Toal, and this is my country description of Mali. Mali ranks 114th on the World Happiness Report, which is pretty low. Most of the population is Muslim. Because of this, its social structure is heavily influenced by traditional Islamic beliefs. This means that females have to cover their face and they don't have nearly the same amount of rights as women in, say, the United States do. Men hold the position of power in the household and they are the head of the family, so it is a patriarchal society. Mali is known for their hospitality towards foreign people and among themselves. Mali's official language is French, which results from almost 70 years of European colonization. Even though that is their official language, only 5 to 10% of their people speak fluent French. The rest of the population speaks different indigenous tongues. They have a largely oral literary tradition. They don't have a lot of study in written history, although they recently are starting to catch up with that. They have an approximate population of a little bit over 20 million. I think the last I read was 20 million and a quarter. And most of these people are spread out into rural areas. Mali was a constitutional democracy like the United States was. They are not anymore. They've had a lot of political turmoil. They weren't just like the United States. They had a president and a prime minister. The president was the chief of the state and they controlled the military. And then the prime minister was the leader of the government. They've had a lot of corruption, abuse of power, and a deteriorating national army. In 2012, a coup ended in overthrowing the elected president by the military. Just recently, in last August, the same thing basically happened, and the prime minister and the president were both arrested, and then after, they both resigned. In September, the former defense minister, Ba Nada, was sworn in as the new president. Mali is one of the poorest countries in the world. Almost 50% of its population lives below the national poverty line. Most of the population participates in subsistence agriculture, so they're not doing it to accumulate wealth, they're just trying to get by. Because agriculture is dependent on so much, the economy is vulnerable to climatic change. They depend on these big rainstorms that come in and flood off the Niger River, and that is a big source of their agriculture. Even with all the political and military problems, they still have a stable and forward-moving economy. In 2019, they had a 5% growth in real GDP. They also had a GDP of 17.5 billion US dollars. Their GDP per capita was equal to 890 US dollars, and their GDP rank ranged from 115 to 120 around the world. I found a couple different websites, they were all around 115 to 120 for GDP rank. They heavily rely on gold and cotton production, and they do have to import a lot of materials because they can't produce it on their own as well. Like I said, they have a really good mining industry, and they're one of the top producers of gold. They also mine salt and phosphate and a couple other minerals. Agriculture accounts for roughly 40% of the country's gross domestic product. Back again to the Niger River and how it floods, and they can produce cotton, maize, rice, and tobacco efficiently. The manufacturing industry is small and mostly revolves around processing agricultural products, and small amounts of construction and fishing industries can be found, but they're not a great source at all. They are a landlocked country and don't have any borders on the ocean, but they do have the Niger River, which they use as a main trade and transport route. Country relies heavily on agriculture. Again, they do not do a lot of industry, and they don't really have a great setup geographically for that. The country is 478,764 square miles. Desertification is becoming an increasingly large problem in Mali. They lose almost 4,000 square kilometers of tree cover every year. The authorities do not have any money or manpower to stop poaching or deforestation. They also face problems like soil erosion, drought, and tainted drinking water. Because of the drinking water, public health is a really big concern in Mali. They can't get clean drinking water, and it creates a lot of waterborne illnesses. The top 3 causes of death are neonatal diseases, malaria, and diarrhea. That comes straight from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Life expectancy at birth is 60 years. There was like a 4-year difference between males and females. That was the average. Infant mortality rate is only 56 out of 1,000. They created a National Public Health Institute in 2019. They have not been dealing with COVID well. They have a very high risk there, and the CDC recommends to avoid traveling to Mali. And as of January 3rd, 2021, there was 7,253 confirmed cases and 278 confirmed deaths from COVID-19. Here are some sources that I used to get that information. Thank you for listening.